Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to you, some devotees. All glories to you, some devotees. All glories to you, some devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, Sri Gauranga, and Srila Prabhupada. So we'll continue reading from Srila Prabhupada Leelamrita, Volume 6, chapter titled, Chant Hare Krishna and Fight. My favorite chapter. So Prabhupada is discussing with Swarup Damodar Maharaj. He said, honest and sincere people normally appreciate our movement, said Swarup Damodar. Only those who are envious. And Prabhupada interrupts. Envious we don't care about, Prabhupada interjected. We don't care, never care about. I didn't care. Many times, even my godbrothers, neither do I care just now. I'll go on with my work. Why care? We are doing our duty. That's all. Under the higher authoritative order. Have no fear. It is not personal gratification. So arrange for Manipur, we shall go. Now work very strenuously, said Srila Prabhupada. You are all young men, and somehow or other, to a dead horse you have given life. The last fortnight I was thinking I was dead. I was thinking like that. Now life is finished. I can be finished at any time. That is not amazing. To live, that is amazing. My life is finished. That is not amazing. No one will lament. Well, he was old man, 82 years old. But if I can live for some days more, that is wonderful. If I die, that is not wonderful. Krishna is wonderful, said Tamal Krishna Goswami. Krishna is wonderful always, said Prabhupada. And you are wonderful, said Bhavananda Goswami. I am wonderful, said Srila Prabhupada, as long as I serve Krishna. Otherwise useless, no value. If I can serve Krishna, then I am wonderful, certainly. March 22. The senior devotees in Mayapur felt Srila Prabhupada was too ill to travel, and that he should remain there and recuperate. Besides, reports from Bombay were conflicting. So Ravi Swami, knowing that Prabhupada's quarters weren't finished, wanted more time. So he wired Prabhupada, requesting him not to come. But Giriraj and others had been arranging a lecture program for Srila Prabhupada at a pandal in Azad Maidan in Bombay. And Giriraj had written inviting Prabhupada. Prabhupada considered the opportunities for preaching and decided to go. He had his secretary send a telegram from Mayapur to Bombay. Prabhupada arriving Tuesday at 1350. Have rooms ready in whatever condition. But on Prabhupada's arrival in Bombay, he was so weak that he could not walk down the steep stairs from the airplane, and airline personnel arranged for him to be lowered to the ground by hydraulic lift. Once he was on the ground, several devotees assisted him in walking. Although he appeared frail, he smiled brightly when he saw the devotees waiting for him at the airport. In the car, Srila Prabhupada inquired about the Bombay temple, and Harisari informed him that his quarters were not yet ready, with no toilet, no running water, no doors or windows, and the workmen polishing the floors. Prabhupada dismissed these objections and said he would move in anyway. The devotees who knew the state of the building became extremely anxious. It didn't seem possible that anyone could live there, but Prabhupada said he would. Harisari said he was surprised Prabhupada had decided to travel, and Prabhupada replied, yes, even up to last night, there was no chance of my coming. But still, somehow or other, we are here. Prabhupada was traveling and preaching because that was his life. For more than 30 years, he had been spreading the Krishna conscious movement, first in India, and then in America, and throughout the world. As long as Krishna gave him even a little strength, he would continue. He wanted to hold public lectures in the city, and he wanted to observe the progress of the construction at Hare Krishna land, his grandest temple. Even though the temple was not completed, he would move in and show the devotees how to use it. As they drove up to the entrance to Hare Krishna land, Prabhupada could see the tall towers of the ISKCON Hotel and the incomplete but massive domes of the temple. These huge structures dwarfed the little shed that was the temporary residence of Sri Sri Radha Rasa Vihari. The deities had been in that shed since 1971, when Prabhupada had moved them there, with a promise that he would build them a beautiful temple. And now, after much difficulty and struggle, that promise was soon to be fulfilled. Radha Rasa Vihari would soon move into one of the most gorgeous and opulent temples in India. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And of course, that's the title of Giriraj Maharaj's book. What's the name of the book? I Will Build You a Temple. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 8th chapter, text number 6. Okay, just want to check. Sometimes Arjuna changes it. Muhur grinanto vachasanuraga. Muhur grinanto vachasanuraga. Skalat padenasya kritani tajgya. Skalat padenasya kritani tajgya. Kirita sahasamani pravek. Kirita sahasamani praveka. Kirita sahasamani praveka. Pradyoti dama panasahasram. Pradyotito dama panasahasram. Pradyotito dama panasahasram. Mohoginanto vachasanuraga. Skalat padena sirkritani tajgya. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Pradyoti dotama pana pasahasram. Please chant. Mohogananto vachasanuraga. Skalat padena sirkitani tajgya. Mohogamani praveka. Pradoti dama panasasram.
Muhurgrinanto vachasanuraga.
Mohoginanto vachasanuraga.
Padenasya kritani tajgya.
Chalat padenasya kritani tajgya.
Kirita sahasramani praveka.
Kirita sahasramani praveka.
Dama panasahasram.
Pradyoti dama panasahasram. Mohoginanto vachasanuraga. Skalat padenasya kritani tajgya. Skirita sahasramani praveka. Pradyotito dama panasahasram. Ladies. Mohoginanto vachasanuraga. Skalat padenasya kritani tajgya. Kirita sahasramani praveka. Pradyotito Dhamma Panasahasram Muhu again and again Grinantak glorifying Vachasa by words Anuraga with great affection Skalat Padena with symmetrical rhythm Asya of the Lord Kirtani activities Tatya those who know the pastimes Kirita helmets Sahasra thousands Mani Praveka glowing effulgence of the valuable stones Pradotita emanating from Udama raised Pana hoods Sahasram thousands. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The four Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumara who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate in effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Please repeat. The four Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumara, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate in effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is sometimes addressed as Uttama Shlok, which means one who is worshipped with selected words by devotees. A profusion of such selected words comes from a devotee who is fully absorbed in affection and love for the devotional service of the Lord. There are many instances in which even a small boy who is a great devotee of the Lord could offer excellent prayers in the choicest words for glorification of the pastimes of the Lord. In other words, without the development of fine affection and love, one cannot offer prayers to the Lord very suitably. Translation again. The four Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumar, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate in effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. Om Jnana Tamrandasya Gananjana Slakaya Chaksuramlita Minatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangu Mankai Tegaram Yatkipatamaham Bande Shri Gurum Virataranam. This chapter is titled Manifestations of Brahma from Vishnu. Very interesting. The vision of Lord Sankarshan lying at the bottom of the universe. So this is the origin. We know that Lord Sankarshan is supporting the entire cosmic manifestation on his hoods, not just one universe, but innumerable universes. And whenever there's a temple which is newly constructed, it's like now the TOVP. Previously, Srila Prabhupada with Puri Maharaj, there's a pit which is excavated, and you can see the photos of Srila Prabhupada descending into that pit to install the Ananta Vasudev, Sankarshan. So it's very interesting. He holds up. We also did this in Alachua. at the temple there, new temple. First temple built in this kind of property in a long time. And that it was very surprising that in Florida has what they call a high water table. Means if you dig down 2-3 feet, you hit water. Because after all, it's a coastal peninsula, so surrounded on water by 3 sides. So we thought, how far can we dig before we hit water? Because we wanted to put Ananta Shesh. So we had made a very nice Ananta Shesh. We took, because you don't get solid gold deities, but ideally that's the case. So we took a nice Ananta Shesh Murti and we put lots of gold plate, gold leaf around. Everything was ready. So one godbrother, Mahananda, you can see him in these old pictures of the devotees standing at Grand Army Plaza, 1968-69. And so I assigned to him, I said, Prabhu, you begin to dig. And then just, let me know. So we had set up a nice tent over the proposed site at the beginning. If anyone's been to Alachua, you see where the temple is. We wanted it to be visible from the highway. So anyone who passed had to see the chakra. So he started digging and he hit 3 feet. He said, Prabhu, it's not damp. Should I continue? I said, yeah, dig down as far as you could go. I thought, how far can he go? So then I came back a little bit later and he was working with a couple of volunteers, but Mahananda is a very big, strong devotee. And this pit was big enough, not small, narrow pit. This pit was maybe 6 feet by 6 feet, big pit. Said people could go down and you could have do whatever you needed to do. So then he kept digging and he kept digging and all of a sudden, no water. And this pit is maybe at that time, 8 feet, 9 feet deep and not a drop of water. Because we picked the highest spot on the property. So we thought, okay, very auspicious, no water. And when you put the earth back in, there is always more earth. That knows that the temple will be situated on strong ground. That's one of the secrets. When you dig a hole, when you want in India, if you want to test the foundation, you dig a hole and then you put the dirt back in. If there's less dirt, that means it's not suitable to build there. If the dirt forms a mound, then you know it's okay. So everything was very auspicious. The temple's built and you see how nice temple it is, small temple, but very nice. So all by the mercy of Ananta Shesh, Lord Sankara. So this is not some mythology that devotees are doing these things and following in the Acharya's footsteps. And now we see that the TLVP, how nicely, it's come about. It took quite a bit of effort, but by Krishna's arrangement, by the diligence of the devotees who are overseeing the project, it will be there for a long time. So this is foundational. We take everything from the basics in order to construct, whether it's the temple or our devotional life. Everything has to be built on solid foundation. So this is the key. We see that, of course, in the discourse between Maitreya Muni and Vidura, they're exchanging this special reciprocation. And Gita says, Tushanti cha ramanti cha. That these conversations don't take place between materialists. Materialists, they have gossip. And this gossip is their life and soul. Practically speaking, these things like Facebook and things, these are just gossip. People talking. They have nothing better to do, so they talk about others, they criticize others, and then that's their. And so this is the pilgrimage place of the crows, Srila Prabhupada described. So many newspapers and things like that. Pilgrimage place for the crows. The crows are always in the dirty area, because you don't see so much in America. But if you go to India, you'll see flocks of crows, always inhabiting the garbage dumps. Everything in India along the side of the road, people just toss the trash. There's no fixed place. So there's crows everywhere. Crows and all types of other living entities. So we don't want to establish our foundation on some basis built on Gramya Katha. So this Krishna conscious movement is only for topics about Krishna. And Prabhupada has described in many places that we should only be speaking about Krishna. And that gives us not just enthusiasm, but the strength, the spiritual strength coming from Lord Balaram, who is none other than Sankarshan. So many relations are there to give us some practical understanding of how we should execute our spiritual life. And there are many bad examples also we've seen. Otherwise, how you, in the Bhagavatam or the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's so many illustrations of those who are contrary to spiritual life, who come with some ulterior motive, but then are rejected, either by the Lord or his devotees. This is also very instructive for us. Junior Haridas was an intimate follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But because he glanced lustily, because he was a sannyasi, the Lord had many householder followers, and he was very affectionate to them and to the children. But to Chota Haridas, everyone was amazed and they lobbied to Mahaprabhu, and still he kept firm. No, he knows better. So this is the key. It is not some innocent mistake. One who takes this position, one in the ashram of sannyas or brahmachari, he cannot deviate. Because why? Because the example, people will condemn. So this is, of course, for us, we have to be, we know that there's the nectar devotion, ihayasya hare dase kamana manasa gira, nikalasya bhastasu, jivan mukta uchite. That we ought to understand who is that jivan mukta. A devotee, like there's that common saying that if Lord Nityananda goes into a wine shop, we understand he's going there for preaching. So we have to be a little familiar. Every day the devotees are going out. We used to go store to store, sometimes bar to bar, because people are very liberal in the bars. Their money is flowing out very easily. So we take advantage of that. That's to benefit them. We're not looking for their money. We understand that those who are there, they're also needing the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So why should we neglect? We're in the subways. In the subways, people are running here and there just for what? For working or for sense enjoyment. We don't think, no, we should not go there. No, we go there. We go wherever there's facility to distribute Krishna Prema. Every one of these books has the seed of Krishna Prema in it. Whether it's Bhagavad Gita or Chaitanya Charitamrita or teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And the person who's getting it, he's now become eligible to awaken that dormant propensity. It will not happen immediately. But anyone can look over the last 50 years or 80 years, as it's described here. Prabhupada was preaching for 30 years before he came to America. Well, altogether. Yeah, maybe not quite so much, but yeah, 1944, 1965, when he had his Bhagavad, this Back to Godhead magazine. And he was trying very hard, with his utmost sincerity. This is the key. But Krishna had something special for him. You see how Krishna works that. It's not that Prabhupada was not successful or potent, but Krishna wanted him for a special project. And sometimes we see that even here, someone is thinking, oh, I wanted that post. Krishna didn't give me that post. And he becomes morose. And then all of a sudden, Krishna gives him a better post, just suitable for his propensity, proclivity. But that's, we have to have a little, what is that? Utsahan nistayat daryat. Charlie is utsahan is enthusiasm. Patience, firm conviction. A Christian knows best. And someone is thinking, no, I must do this service. And then what happens is a person tries hard for some, even it seems to be a spiritual situation. But because it is done with some puja and pratishtha, some desire for profit, distinction, and adoration, then his integrity, his spiritual integrity is compromised. Because he is not thinking how to please Krishna. He's thinking, I want to please Krishna in this way. And that's okay if you think that, from some humble perspective, like Kolavecha Sridhar. What was he doing? He was making leaf cups, dona. Everyone who's been to India knows what is a dona, what is a leaf cup. And he was simply making leaf cups. But he was taking whatever profit he had and using it for the worship of Mother Ganges. And Lord Chaitanya recognized him. He wasn't trying to be some pundit. But deep realization is not shown by external articulation. So many people are expert at giving lectures. These pundits who sit on the gadi and speak on Bhagavatam, they're very expert. They get thousands of followers. If you walk around the Parikram Marg in Vrindavan and Kartik or in this, during the time of Julan and the Shravan Mena, these places are filled with people. You can't imagine how many people are all going and all listening. But who is that person? Who is that person? They don't know. But they come out and say, oh, he speaks so nicely. This is it. They don't know what is his history, what is his sadhana, what is his gotra, his lineage, nothing. But because he's pleasing their ear and telling them some stories that seemingly display or demonstrate the highest pastimes, you're talking about Rasa Leela. Neither the speaker is qualified nor the listener is qualified. So this is a recipe for disaster. So Prabhupada gave us clear instruction, do not go there. The temple commander came back and informed Srila Prabhupada, some of our men are going out to these Ras Mandals. And Srila Prabhupada said they should not go. He said, and if they go, they should not come back. Very heavy. If they go, they should not come back. So strict. So loving, at the same time, so strict. Because why not come back? Because they will bring the contamination back. Now people are concerned about pandemic. You see how everyone was so fearful that this person should not come in because he might have the corona. But they should be so strict about not bringing in any Mayavad philosophy or some tendency to talk about that which is not in our line. Prabhupada used to use that term, in our line. There are so many people who have gone from ISKCON They have these big, big institutes in Vrindavan. Just to get name and fame. They think I'm smarter than Bhaktivedanta Swami. He is not in the parampara. These people are actually demons. But people accept them. No, it's very nice. Prabhu, he's talking about this. Very nice. No, these people are demons. They may not know it. But in any case, that is why it is required that, especially in a temple and an ashram, there has to be very strict adherence to the sadhana and the mood of the spiritual master. It is not our place to speculate what I think Srila Prabhupada would like or what I think Srila Prabhupada would want. He's already told us, and he said it, we were reading the other day. Everything I have told you is in my books. Plus, we don't require to rack our brains. Our success is to continue following the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and do Naga Kirtan and distribute the literature of the Goswamis. We have no other purpose. We're not here to simply big buildings just for comfortable living. Why did Prabhupada build Bombay? To attract those who might not otherwise appreciate and to give them some understanding that actually everything should be done for Krishna. You see people, they spend their time, very famous family in Bombay, built the highest tower and they inhabit all the top floors. But what is the point? It should have all been done for Krishna. And they give something to Krishna. But maximum they give and keep for themselves. But they give a little bit to Krishna. And so they can, I give. When I used to go in the early days, life membership in Bombay, and go with the nice devotee. He had already been there for some time. And we used to have a little temple car, Fiat. It was called, what's the name of the Fiat in India? They have a certain name. Anyway, I forget the name of the car. But anyway, it's a Fiat car. But it had a Padmini something. Anyway. So we used to drive around. Famous place in Bombay is Marine Drive. All the big apartment buildings, all the rich people looking out over the Arabian, the Sea of Arabia. Beautiful. Very beautiful. We would go into the buildings and you by appointment, you call someone, you don't go just knocking on doors, you have appointment. And we would give our presentation and ultimately we want them to buy, because what are we giving? In return for their contributions, we're giving them all Prabhupada's books. And then whatever is printed, and in the future, any books to be printed. It's a very attractive offer. You'll get all of these books, plus you get to stay in our, what did Prabhupada? In our beautiful Juhu temple. It was and everybody was impressed by that temple, those two towers. It was beautiful. So Prabhupada had a reason, a purpose behind everything he did. We didn't need this big building in Manhattan either, but he wanted it to attract that class of people. He always wanted, and he considered that to be the success of his mission, that the New York Times declared Hare Krishna is a bona fide religion. And anyone could walk into the temple and see everything was being done nicely. They could see that this is a temple. They could see the gorgeous worship of Sri Sri Radha Govinda, Sri Sri Gaurnatai, Sri Sri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. Beautiful. Nobody could deny that this was a bona fide religion. Plus the Govinda's restaurant and gift shop. It was an amazing success. by the mercy of His divine grace. So that potential is still there. Nothing is lost. It's just that we have to develop our determination, our dedication, and be enthusiastic with what we have now. And if we utilize this properly, then Krishna will, just like He did for Srila Prabhupada, He will then give. What is that? No shortage of men and money. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, only shortage is Krishna consciousness. So we should not think that there is some impediment, to preaching in a big city like New York. No. Actually, there's more facility here than any place else, because Krishna wants it. So many firsts here, with regards to Srila Prabhupada's successes in preaching. First temple, then the biggest temple, then the Rath Yatra, then the court case. So many firsts. Prabhupada arriving here, of course. And his declaration that New York City is the most important project. So if we don't have faith in those words, then of course we won't have any success. But someone says, no, we have to do it a different way. We can't do it like this. We have to do it. No. You have to concentrate your efforts. You cannot do too many things simultaneously. It simply dilutes the resources that you have. So it's like if someone has some very nice juice, and he thinks this juice is so nice, but I want to keep it forever. So I will drink a sip and then I will put a sip of water. I'll drink another sip and put another sip of water. What happens? Very shortly, it's not juice anymore, it's just water. So we have to be very strong in this regard. There are so many things. Someone's thinking, oh, this is not so comfortable. It's New York City. It's cold. Sometimes it's snowing outside. Sometimes the heat is not working. Let me go to Alachua, nice and warm. After all, it's a Krishna temple, right? But in a war, there are many battles to be fought. You cannot send all the resources to one place. What is the point? Then the enemy comes in and then they take over and then you lose that. And you never get it back. It is lost. So therefore, Prabhupada wanted dedicated leaders who were not quick to abandon a situation out of frustration or unrealized personal ambition. Just imagine if, Vidura thought, no, why should I go look for Maitreya Muni? It's such an unnecessary endeavor. I can just read the Bhagavatam, right? But the Bhagavatam is not just the book Bhagavat, it is the person Bhagavat. Why? Because like Sukadev, what does that name mean? Sukha means parrot. So when the parrot cuts the mango fruit with its beak, it becomes sweeter. This is a known thing. So therefore, by the mercy of the person's Bhagavat, when they speak the Bhagavatam, their realizations become the nectar for which we are always anxious. Because Krishna is situated within their heart, and they are seeing these things directly. That's the purport. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnaninas tatpadarshana. Jnaninas tatpadarshana. We approach the spiritual master. Why? These self-realized souls. Because they have seen the truth. They have seen it. And therefore they can explain it. Nowadays people want to do something. What do? They go to YouTube. You want to know how to fix something? Just Google it on YouTube. You can watch a tutorial. right? So we should have all of our classes are on YouTube. If someone wants to know what is the science of self-realization, he should know I have to go to ISKCON NYC YouTube channel. That should be the reputation. That if someone wants spiritual knowledge, I have to go to ISKCON. And that's how it should be, to please Srila Prabhupada. Because it is the same. If we're not deviating, then the benefit is intact, just like the messenger. Right? Prabhupada used that example that the postman, he doesn't take the letter, open it, edit it, and then deliver it. No, the person who is sending it, he gives it to the postman, and the postman gives it without any adulteration, than any editing. And therefore the message is coming down intact. Evam parampara praptam. As some people are saying, no, everything stopped. ISKCON is just a relic. Prabhupada has, not empowered anyone. This is so much, this is Mayavad philosophy, actually. It says, I don't know, therefore nobody should know, or nobody can know. I have not seen God, therefore no one can see God. I was not successful, and for whatever purpose, whatever reason, and therefore no one is successful. So this is unfortunate, this situation like that. There's a type of frustration, unrealized personal ambition. So therefore, a devotee has to have that pariprashnena. He has to have submissive attitude. He can't have a challenging attitude towards the spiritual master or the revealed scriptures. He can't be reading the Bhagavatam and thinking, no, that can't be right. How can there be this living entity with thousands of hoods holding up the entire cosmic manifestation? How is that possible? So if one is not able, by faith, to appreciate the direct realization of these advanced souls who are benedicting us with this vision, all right? After all, they're able to see. That funny story of Prabhupada walking around the Parikram path around Krishna Balaram temple. We said this in the prasadam yesterday. And Prabhupada would walk around chanting, and all the devotees are following. And at a certain point, after Mangalarti, it goes from darkness to light, the sun comes up, and then everyone can see, right? That's the power of the sun. One cannot see without the power of the sun. So Prabhupada's walking, and when you cross underneath the old deity kitchen, which goes from, the one building to Prabhupada's house, where they're old like that. So it's a dark area. And so after Mangalarti, the light is on. And so Prabhupada's walking, and as it gets light, he points, he doesn't say anything specific. He says, I can see, but you cannot. And so the devotees are wondering, what does Prabhupada mean? I can see, but you cannot. Prabhupada can see everything, and we don't see anything. That's a fact. But there was like a riddle. So again, he walked around the path, and he came through the path again. And of course, he was giving them a hint by saying it right at that point, as he exits that from underneath that little tunnel. So I can see, but you cannot. Again, the devotees are like completely bewildered. What is Prabhupada trying to tell us? What is the secret message here? Must be some very confidential knowledge. Raja Vidya Raja Guyam. So again, he walks around. So this is the last time, because they do parikram 3 times. Prabhupada said, I can see, but you cannot. Finally, the voice of Prabhupada, what is it? Please enlighten us, inform us. The Prabhupada, with his cane, he points up at the burning light bulb after the sun has come up and after there's no need. He says, I can see, but you cannot. And then everyone realizes Prabhupada's talking about you're wasting this electric energy. This light bulb is on. We walked around 3 times and nobody said anything. Why is this light on? It's a very practical instruction. Not that, we, out of our devotional ecstasy, we neglect the temple, just because whatever. Someone is thinking it's not my service. But was it Prabhupada's service to inform the devotees that the light bulb is on? He was training us in little things. So we should not ignore. In the old days, we didn't have such facility. Prabhupada came to the temples once a year. If you were lucky and you were in a temple that had the facility to host Srila Prabhupada, it had to be an established center. And all year long, you hear things. Prabhupada would say this devotee would go around, and of course, it's a little bit of a joke. Prabhupada said, Prabhupada says, and Prabhupada said, I didn't say that. Who says Prabhupada says? But many of those little Prabhupada says, we use them. As Prabhupada said, a Brahmin cleans where he eats and where he sleeps. So we knew that. That's, of course, when you wake up in the morning, you roll up your sleeping bag, and we used to have a bucket in the room, and we would wipe down where we slept. It was very simple. Nothing complicated. What else did Prabhupada say? Everyone can remember these things. Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness means a clean bead bag. Sometimes you walk around, you see devotees, they have these bead bags that haven't been washed in 2 years. And you wonder, what is that devotee thinking? That's just for them that Prabhupada said that. So anyway, there's so many Prabhupada says things like that. But the purport is that we should always be thinking of how to please Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. This is that it's not just Yukta Vairagya when I want it to be Yukta Vairagya. I'm going to dovetail this and please the Supreme Lord because I like to do that. No, that's not. I like to do this service, so that's my Yukta Vairagya. No. Yukta Vairagya is what Krishna wants, not what we want. What the spiritual master gives us. That should be clear. Doesn't have to be. So we'll read the translation again. The 4 Kumars, headed by Sanat Kumar, who all knew the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, glorified the Lord in rhythmic accents with selected words full of affection and love. At that time, Lord Sankarshan, with his thousands of raised hoods, began to radiate an effulgence from the glowing stones on his head. What a beautiful, and we have BBT posters of this scene. Back in the old days, spiritual sky. And those posters adorned the walls of many prospective devotees. We used to go into the temple gift shop at Henry Street or on 55th Street. Beautiful posters. You meditate on them, just before you moved into the temple. Chant. And just consider how wonderful is Krishna in all his revealed forms. And revealed by who? By Maitreya Muni, after proper inquisition by Vidura. Any questions or comments? Arjuna is going to get the mic for Tulsi Prabhu, right?
Thank you for the class, bro. One of the things that came out was that Srila Prabhupada, he was not after big buildings and so on, but he wanted to do it in order to attract attention. And also, I was thinking in this line that also he was pushing that he needs lots of money in order to do this. So we can see that in these days, devotees, they were very, very active and gathering lots of money and building big buildings. So can you comment nowadays, practically for our Krishna consciousness movement, where should be our focus? What do you think?
Our focus should always be on preaching, which is what we're doing. We're not focused on building big buildings. But there's a purpose behind everything. We have to be a little analytical. Why did Prabhupada ask us to preach in New York, the most important city in the world? And why was his endeavor always to get some place which would fulfill that? I mean, so important. I mean, what do we know from Srila Prabhupada's words? His idea was, let me come to New York, die on the battlefield, and my samadhi should be constructed on the roof. Who can understand? Because that roof, there's a beautiful picture of Prabhupada sitting on the roof, surrounded by the devotees. In the background is the Empire State Building. It was an amazing. He would sit back and Prabhupada was not someone who was thinking that this is my success, but he's thinking, he's offering everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is there in that building. So it was all by their arrangement. And that was even after, just like in the Bombay here, they're trying to finish the construction. So we were collecting at that time to buy the building, to buy a building in Manhattan. Two things we were collecting for. And we were going out every day and collecting nickels, dimes, and quarters, not dollars. There was 100, at that time in the Henry Street Temple, there was 130 devotees living in these two brownstones. You can't imagine how crowded it was. In one room, we had 20 to 30 devotees sleeping on the floor, side to side, head to toe, like that. And every day, everybody went out on Sankirtan, every single day. Harinam Sankirtan and subways. And in the course of whatever it was, a year or so, distributing Luglu's Reservoirs of Pleasure, Back to Godhead magazine, Spiritual Guidance Sense. We had raised, a decent sum of money in those days. And it's probably around, I told Shan Krishna, I remember he told me that it was around $270,000, which for the devotees, that's a lot of money to have in the bank. And that first collection was to buy the farm. At that time, it was called New Barshana. That was the plan, buy the farm. We were collecting to buy the farm. We always had a purpose. We were going out to please Krishna. But we were going to buy Gita Nagari, at that time, New Barshana. And Prabhupada called up Bali Madan, who was very proud. He was the temple president of the GBC. And Prabhupada wanted to know how much they had saved for the farm, the collection. And Bali Madan was very forthright because he wanted to show Prabhupada how good a manager he was. Prabhupada, we've collected $270,000. Prabhupada said, immediately send it to Bombay. Immediately send it to Bombay. Whole collection for an entire year of going out. Winter, spring, summer, fall, rain, cold, everything. Prabhupada said, send it to Bombay. Of course, we sent it to Bombay. And then we started all over again. Nickels, dimes, quarters. That's, So this is, we're not thinking what Krishna will do in that respect. We're not saying, Krishna, you must do this. Please give us this. Please give us that. That is an unfortunate mentality. But if you're trying to please Krishna, what can he not do? What can he not do? We had the same experience everywhere. That if you just simply make the endeavor, Krishna will reciprocate. Doesn't matter what it is. In Alachua, there was nothing. No resources, a few devotee families. They had saved up for years. Not much money, something. And they wanted to build a big temple. I saw the plans and I said, when I asked how much money have you saved, he said, well, we have this much. I said, you're showing me plans for a $500,000 building and you have this much. Where's the rest of it coming from? Oh, we'll collect. I said, well, you have to, you can't start construction unless you have the money in the bank, basically. You can't, construction doesn't work like that. You can't start, stop. That happened to us in Vrindavan as well. I had just come from Vrindavan. We thought, how can we finish the Samadhi? The money somehow or other was lost. We don't want to get into that story. When I came in 1984, there was not a paisa in the Samadhi account, not a paisa. I said, where did all the money go? We had collected for years for Prabhupada's Samadhi. I asked all my godbrothers who were Tamil presidents around the world, have you been sending your money to the Samadhi fund? And they said, yes, Prabhu, every month it goes. I said, where's the Samadhi? And so when I questioned, I just kept getting brick walls. Nobody's saying where it is. So I took whatever money was there that was being held in Delhi. I said, we need to immediately jumpstart this work. How can we, as a society, tolerate that the spiritual master Samadhi is not finished at that time, 7 years after his departure? We laid the foundation after Prabhupada left, basically. 1979 was the official, but we built the Samadhi right after Prabhupada's departure. So it was for me, a great concern that somehow or other we couldn't, where were these funds? So under the circumstances, we exhausted the funds that we had almost immediately. We had enough for 7 trucks of marble. We brought 7 trucks of marble and we fixed it. And we said, okay, bring us the rest of the Lakshmi. And those persons who were holding the money didn't expect those type of results. They were thinking that it was going to drag out for some time. I said, no, we can't afford that. We need to complete this. It's like when you have an open sore on your arm. The whole society was suffering because we hadn't finished the Samadhi, technically, at least from my limited perspective. This was the priority for the entire society. So in one sense, for our intended purposes, this is our priority, to focus on New York. And when we focused on doing the right thing, immediately the money came. Immediately. Because there's money in this guy at that time. It just wasn't directly connected to that channel that was coming into the Samadhi. But Krishna made an arrangement to correct that. And so therefore the Samadhi was done, not in 10 years. They wanted it done in 12 years. I said, no, it's just half the time. We did it in 6. Finished. That's all. So what cannot Krishna do? If somehow or other he wants this building to be built, the money will come. We're not worried. Just like Alachua. We thought, how will we build this? There's no money. When we started to do it and we planned it and we decided to execute and we committed, immediately the money came. Immediately the money came from one person. So that's Krishna. Just like when you're on Sankirtan. Yesterday, somebody gave, or the day before, somebody gave Bhakti Jimmy $100 for Bhakti stack. Because Krishna's in everyone's heart. So devotees are going out there, they don't have to be expert. They have to only be sincere. Bhakti Jimmy is our newest devotee. And simply, sincerely distributing books, and that person gave him $100. So that happens all the time in Sankirtan. It's happened to me. It's happened to everyone at some point. From the least likely sources. I was distributing in a parking lot. And a woman was pushing a shopping cart with a kid in tow, in New Jersey, in Woodbridge, where we used to distribute. And she comes up and she says, "Do you have a nectar of devotion?" I said, thinking, I'm in the middle of New Jersey, middle of nowhere. I'm struggling to distribute Back to Guardian magazines and not being as successful as I would hope. And this person comes up and asks for a nectar of devotion. And the only nectar of devotion I had was mine. But I said, if she's asking for it, Krishna must want her to have it. So I gave it. I said, here. And what happened was she had gotten one from someone else. And her husband threw it away. But she wanted it so badly that next time she saw a devotee, she asked. And then she gave me a donation. I didn't even look at it because, it was just a bill folded up. I just put it in my pouch. We used to have these pouches. I got back to the temple and I'm counting because we didn't get many bills in those days. We used to get mostly change. And we open up the bill and it's $100 bill. The $100 bill. So Krishna is in everyone's heart. If we forget that, then of course we won't be successful. So ultimately everything comes down to that. Always remember Krishna. Never forget him. Doesn't matter if you're in New York or Vrindavan or Alachua or wherever. In hell, you have to remember Krishna. That's the key. And that's why we come together here in the temple for Bhagavatam, for Prasadam, for Harinam. These are all activities related to Krishna. You cannot help but remember Krishna. I have to go out in Sankirtan. I have to get ready. I have to cook for the deities. I have to get ready. This is what the temple is. Everything is related to Krishna. I have to clean the floor. I have to clean the temple. I'm not cleaning just some floor. This is Krishna's floor. I have to make the flower garlands. For who? For Krishna, for Radharani. Look at that beautiful dress. Amazing. Any other questions? Of course, I probably didn't answer Prabhu's question. He asked me a question and just... All right, then we'll end. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON New York City ki, Sri Sri Radha Govinda Dev ki. Okay, Arjuna, you and Tulsi have another service. After you clean up here and put everything away, I need you to bring the 2 cases of sweatshirts down to the prasadam room. We're going to give out the sweatshirts now so that we have them for the Sunday feast. Okay, for the Sankirtan. They're in Hari Vilashvili's office. Okay. And that's Sankirtan devotees and Temple devotees first. And then of course, anyone who wants to, we can give for a contribution of $51, they can get a sweatshirt. Just make sure it's $51. It's not, these are first quality, 50th anniversary sweatshirt. They're not just, you don't go to Target and buy this sweatshirt. And it has to be someone who